Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Monday, October 27th, 2025. Look at the market go. Gap up and gap up. We had the breakout back test from the triangle previous over here. And now we're really getting into some gaps, a big move here. So is this stretching out or is this about to end? We continue to do this each and every day. We'll show you what it looks like on all these indicators because we really have to key in on what's happening here and see how those indicators are showing as well. Now, we have a couple channels that show that the market may be topping or has a little bit more room to go if they obey those channels. But again, we'll have to see. Everything's up. Tech is strong going into earnings. We have earnings all week long. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday being the most important with the big mega tech stocks. We had cooler than expected inflation data that helped the market out going into Friday. And then we had the U.S. China trade talks, whatever going on during the weekend, opening talks up again. That's going to go back and forth. That narrative with trade deals and such are going to go back and forth. It happened in 2018, really 16 through 20, when we were talking about tariffs back then as well. The narrative just fits whatever the market's doing. So if we start to see a drop in the market, likely you're going to see some news in there that trade talks are over or tariffs are raised or something like that. And the other way around, just talks are opening up. There's been no talks. There's no meeting. Talks are opening up, so the market's going to explode from here. So let's jump into it. We have SPX on the daily time frame. We're looking at a naked chart here, and it's really starting to just go vertical at this point. I do want to mention this. You know what? The only thing I want to mention here on the weekly time frame, because we just had the weekend and I didn't do a full weekend analysis, was a 13 count. All right. We have a 13 count possible top here. Look at this 13 count right here. You had the next week that started the sell off, but did go a little bit higher. Okay. So not to say that price can't go a little bit higher. Maybe one more gap up. Who knows? But on the weekly time frame, those are powerful counts. We have a 13. Let's go to the daily. While we're on the DMARC, we're up to an 8 count. Tomorrow's a 9 count. Doesn't have to be the new high, but likely, why not? Why not get one more gap up into a new high, get a 9 count, and then start closing all of these gaps after that? That is a possibility as well. Whoa. Okay, so looking at the trend, the candles, they're strong candles. Nothing else to really look at there. We had that equilibrium that lasted 9 days, and we weren't sure if this was going to, fake and break, but this is moving. It's moving along. So this is a clear breakout a couple days into it. Trend is clearly up here. One thing we do have to mention on this indicator is that our smart MACD reference rate right here again of daily divergences, and we do have an RSI bearish divergence on the weekly time frame as well. So here's your moving averages, pushing off that 8 EMA, starting to expand. We have that 20, which is our trend indicator. Adding on the McClellan oscillator and our traditional technical analysis, we have a lower high so far, but price is going up there. So maybe it goes and gets to that overbought territory. Nevertheless, you see the lower highs and lower lows happening here. Okay, here's your trend line that we've been keeping an eye on. We were at it, kind of reversing off of it, holding onto it. Now we're gapping above it. That's obviously bullish. Okay, and so we're looking more at this consolidation area being the box to hold, and we're pushing off of that, and you can make your measured move. And we're going to actually do this on SPY, but you just take your line from range top to range bottom on that triangle or square. It doesn't really matter. And you got you have a measured move here up to about 7,000. So that's if you're measuring off of that specific maybe ascending triangle. And there's two ways to do it. Or you could be off of this triangle here that formed within the range we broke out from and back tested. If you're doing the breakout area there, then we're a little bit closer to it. So two ways to look at that, but you know, you can't take it out off the books. That won't make it to 7,000. And there's targets up there as well, and that's why this is going to be so important. So let's go over to SPY. Hold on, I didn't do the. There's your RSI. Still a lower high so far, but looks like it wants to push to a new high. Keep an eye on that. And we did not roll over in stochastic, and we're getting a buy signal. If we get a nice close here today, we're getting a new buy signal on the MACD. So in order for this to be bearish divergence, we need to see another histogram back to the downside for a bearish cross. So right now, really leaning to the bullish side here after the breakout. But overall, I'm looking for a reversal. Okay, so I know immediately what you're going to say. Oh, he's bullish now. Now it's time to go bearish. Okay, no, I'm still looking for a top. That hasn't changed. But we have to respect what the measured moves are. And to the downside, we'd have to do the same thing. It's okay. So we looked at the indicators there. Let's go over to SPY. Now, here's some interesting things with SPY. Here's your divergences, and we know we have some divergences happening here. Let's go to, how about the money flow index? Look at that. Getting new highs, gap up, but divergent. And we have a distribution here. And so if we pull this divergence here straight across, still with the highs referenced here, the highs, we're right at that. So is that going to act as a resistance here with these good points? That's a good trend line. Let's see what happens here today. Is that actually a top? Could be. We have negative divergence. When is that going to play out to the downside? Again, we could go higher. There's ways you can look at this where you go a little bit higher. Bollinger Band, we're way out of the Bollinger Band. Is this going to ride it up, or do we get that sell signal? We have a true sell signal on the Bollinger Band set up here. Okay, with an 8 count going into tomorrow, 9 count. I would say some of these setups are starting to add up. There's no volume. We're way past. We're at all-time highs. We're still looking at a lower high here in the near term. So we're in some sort of wave 5 here. At what degree? That's the big question. Do we have a correction and then a new high? Okay. So here's another way to look at it. Here's our channel. Had this channel going up. Now we have one that's leaning a little bit more horizontal. And we have this possible 3 drives to a high. And with these points kind of adding up, not touching this one, you have a little bit of room left. What if we gap up here into 687? What would that say? Well, guess what? 687 is our options expected move. So good chance that happens. Maybe this is the actual channel, and then we'll have an objective short at this point as well. And we'll also remove most of our call hedges. And then if we do get a reaction off of here, we'll start adding on some call hedges again, because there's still a possibility we could get maybe holding this former trend. Not the greatest, but you can see it did respect it a little bit and come back here for one more high, because there's a certain wave count that's happening here where you couldn't have a wave 4 and a 5 still. So this could be just wave 3 playing out. And if we gap up here into 687, I like that for a reversal, and then we'll look to protect some of our positions if and when we get that reversal. Okay, so we looked at all those. Let's go over to the Qs. So here's something interesting in the Qs. Again, those channels. Are we forming a new channel? Possibly. There's a couple different ways you can draw it, but drawing the lows here and then tagging it with this high could mean that we have that a little bit of space to move up to the new channel high here. Okay. So here's the measured move. Same thing. If you take the width of the triangle, it could be this triangle within here. So that would mean you're somewhere in here, and we're probably topping out this measured move right now, or there's actually the ascending triangle. And why not? Why not the breakout here? Maybe tomorrow we go higher. Again, get that wave 4 and 5 in here and tag up a little bit higher. Okay. The interesting thing about the Qs is we already hit one of our objectives, and that's the 162 extension from the January to April tariff tantrum. Okay. So that correction, you have your first primary target, and then you have your secondary primary target. So do we snap a day above and get back below? Let's see how important this level is. Now, with SPY, that's different. SPY, we're coming up to the 261 is up here near 700, okay? And coming up, so we talked about this big picture item. If you're brand new here, this expanding ending diagonal that I was looking for, if we broke down for new highs to come, we'd have to ABC, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through all that once again. But with this breakout, we're going directly to it. So we could stall out at this 262. The only thing that this 100% is representing is that wave 3 in the past here. All right, wave 3. This was a 100. So now the waves are almost equal here. And I was expecting, if we're to be bullish in this, for this last wave to be longer than wave 3. Okay, so now wave 5 continues to extend, and then we'll look for either a stop here at this confluence of Fibonacci's just below 700, and if we get some sort of correction or massive move, something, this A into B may have not happened yet. So if we get a reaction off of that 161, this confluence here could pull back and get our last move. It's possible, or if we just continue to go straight up to some of these levels. But if we're going to get to that 200% Fibonacci, we're going to need some time to get there too. And I'm not sure that we can have a throw over of this this level, maybe, but it seems more realistic. Nothing's realistic right now, huh? It seems more realistic that you'd get some sort of A-B correction, and then you get your wave 5 up here. Okay, so this is our really bullish situation. And by the way, we're kind of keying in. We're playing Tesla as well. If this is the situation that's going on here, then Tesla, I do believe, is going to continue to just really push higher. And we talked about these in the Discord. This could be an actual wedge that's larger, but you'd want to get new highs here. There's a whole wave count I have going on. You'll have to check it out if you want to. We're doing this intraday about about 2:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to get these videos intraday, consider becoming a YouTube member. It's 99 cents. And then all of the individual analysis stock analysis in ETFs, we do that's a higher membership for $4.99. So you can do it on Patreon, but I recommend you going on to YouTube. It's just incentives there a little bit cheaper. So if we're doing this correctly, there's a bearish count, and of course there's a bullish count. But if this is going to push and continue to go higher, then it looks like we're back testing a trend line here. That could be a bearish look, but you have this descending triangle that was possible, and we're breaking out from there. So keep an eye on that, but we're kind of hedging with some Tesla calls. That's worked in the past, and if this starts with the blow off top here, and it just starts really cranking, there's some really high targets, 500 for sure. But if the market makes it higher, 500 is definitely a good look here. And even beyond that, we have targets all the way up to, I believe, 700. I want to say, if this is truly the ending diagonal in the bullish look of things. All right, so let's go to SPY. Oh, let's go to the VIX. Oh, all right. So here's a look at the VIX. Now, this was super interesting. Ralph in the Discord brought this to my attention. So we saw this breakout here, right? We had this wedge. We had the primary top to that wedge, and then we have the secondary, which we ended up really consolidating and building that base here, and then we exploded out of it. Okay, well, we're just literally back testing it today. So have we made a bottom here today? It doesn't fit the cycles very well, so those might have to be rearranged here soon. But in the meantime, a traditional look is that we're back testing that wedge. We're right at it. We hit it. Do we gap down? And it's a descending wedge, so do we gap down and get a new low just to test the wedge again? And maybe, probably, right? If the market's going to gap up. But we could diverge. The VIX could have a low in here, and then SPY and QQQ make another high while the low is actually in the VIX. That would give us a signal of divergence, positive for the VIX, okay? So we'll probably head back to the back of here. Maybe we back test and go lower into some of these lows. So we have to keep an eye that if that is the case. And then we have this trend line, this major trend line down lower that goes for quite some time. Okay, some really good lows here. I believe there's another low back in the day there. So we'll keep an eye on this trend. It looks like it kind of wants it. Back testing here, so the top could be near a lot of different scenarios. But if we get one more pop here and then a drop lower, that means something is happening in the market overall. That sort of says maybe something like this. We get a correction, and then ends up being, instead of a reversal, we get a correction and then one new increment high here, similar to these situations here. All right, and we'll go to SPY. $65-minute. Here's your traditional look. There's that channel that we're using the lows here, and we're using the highs, and we're coming up on that pretty soon here. If it's not drawn perfectly, it could be on it already. We could have a little bit more room. So these aren't perfect channels that I'm drawing here, but they do kind of outline the trading action that we have here. And there's another look at, again, that ascending triangle. Maybe we do make it up to these levels here. There's our options to expect to move to the upper end. If you're new, again, we talked about the SPY calls that we're looking at. And this week, so last week, we ended up closing at a certain point where I was guessing. So last week, Friday, we ended up here. We gapped up, ended up here, and kind of traded around this area. That was the former upper end of the options expected move. All right. And so I was guesstimating the market has been lately around the 100 to 100 point options expected move to the upper end or the lower end, no bias. And so with our puts that we had here, I was looking at protecting the portfolio with calls that were up to the options expected move to the upper end. So that, is definitely in stone's throw away. If we get there, then great. It's probably a objective short at that point. So we'll see where this channel, if it holds price action at all. And we'll see if we do get some sort of reversal. Maybe we close these gaps, hold on to some, whatever it is, the moving averages or support, back test, and you still could have another high going up here. So it's possibility. And the reason why I say that is because there are wave counts here where you could call this completed. It looks a lot more clear on QQQ. But if this is so I'm counting this. I'll show you from the top. Here's if we have a top. This is what we were looking at last week if we made new highs. 2 weeks ago, we said if we make new highs here, we gapped up on money. If we make new highs, then this is how we're counting it. So we had this as our bullish count here. It's kind of the bull bear count, right? Here is wave 3 into 4. And now we're looking at this ABC into A. And we're looking at B. And then a possible 5-wave move for a C. So is this 5-wave move over? Maybe not. Maybe just a little bit higher. Again, we might gap up above here. But you see the channel top. And that's near the options expected move. Again, I'll reevaluate if we get to the channel top, but not the options expected move. There's this possibility, and by the way, there's that 162. So if this is the wrong count and we have some sort of pullback for a 4 and a 5, something of that aspect, we could make it up to that 162 some shape or form. Okay. At this point, we made new highs. Let's see if we can get a reversal in the near term off of that channel top. And then we'll look at some of the indicators to see what they look like from this point. And so really, this is why we're doing this each and every day is so we can read off of these indicators. You might use 1 or 2 of them. You might not use any of them. I don't know. But they're definitely here for you. We have in the Discord, in the members videos, we use just a little bit different. We have clearly this is our setup typically, okay? But we also use the Elliott oscillator along with Fibonacci's and the slim ribbon on our member setup. So it's a little bit different. And then my kind of cockpit setup that I trade off of is totally different. We have a 5-minute, we have a 65-minute, and there are other indicators on it. So you may have multiple kind of looks at things as well. So here's the RSI, clearly in that overbought territory. So super strong. It was very strong, and we continue to gap up and go higher. So no divergences in the near term. So we still, again, could have some highs to go. And slow stoke could be curling over. We're in that extreme territory there, so it could roll over soon. But price can go higher while this is up in this upper section here. So again, if we look for a sell signal, which we did not get here, we look for that sell signal and continuation down from the 80 line. But something that should be a little concern to us is this MACD V. We're getting to the upper range. And so the only difference between the MACD and the MACD V is it's range bound. And although it can go further, the boundaries are much more predictable at having some reversals or so in the overall market. So we're getting to that point to where it's getting a little oversold. We're going into resistance. And the MACD should start to roll over at some point in the near future on the 65. Okay, super important. And we looked at that. We're looking at DMARC, and we do have a 9 count, looks like. We have a 9 count or a 13 count. So this one might end up being a 13.9. So we might have a couple hours left. Again, this can go a little bit higher in some of these moves here. So look at this 9 count in the near term. We got a little bit of a correction off it, made a brand new high, and then started to back test that triangle there. So this is definitely a point where we can get that 13 and then the 9. And while doing so, that 9 count can end up at the top of the channel here. So we might get a little consolidation and a little bit higher. Okay. So it does, again, appear that we could have a little bit of a high here, but you might be able to get 1, 2 inside of here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the wave 3, and then some sort of 4 and then 5 to get us to the top of that channel. All right. So with that said, we have the money flow. We're getting up to the top of the range here. Maybe get to that actual overbought territory. We haven't been there in a while. And then the Bollinger Band. So I think we have a setup here already in the Bollinger Band. We're getting consolidation. So this caused, with each of these setups here in the Bollinger Band, you see it caused a reaction. I know it didn't really go anywhere, but we were just starting that uptrend, right? So we got the gap up back in there. So it's an objective short here again on this setup. But really what I think is we're getting a consolidation. And so even if we do pull back a little bit, I do think we're going to go just a tad higher, maybe even to the options expected move there. Elliott oscillator starting to make new highs. Nothing to see here. We could get an indication if we do get a lower high in this very near term. Okay, we're not looking back at the history, and there's definitely divergences from peak to peak. But in this near term is what we're going to look for this finish of this move. All right, so no setup there yet. Look at the VIX. So we're kind of going to a channel here. We have some gaps underneath us, and this also says, hey, maybe we can close this gap. The channel is really steep. So in order to hit the bottom of the channel, this thing's really got to drop. But you could start to draw with the divergences with different lows as well. There's different ways to do it. So if we're drawing it as a wedge here, then, maybe we hit that low. It could be adjusted a little bit better. Hit this low, bounce off. Maybe we get another low right here. But then we're going to look for some of these divergences. And this divergence, and when we're in a downtrend in the overall market, this is going to happen to us. So we should recognize that we could have gone lower with this boundary down here. We haven't tagged it yet. It doesn't always, but you got to keep that in mind. So no divergence there. We do have one here. So we're getting actual buy signal on the slow stoke. And then we do still have this positive divergence on the RSI as well. So let's see how this works out. If the VIX starts to push to the upside, does it push from here, or does it close that gap first and then push off from there? That's that would say that this would kind of go on the narrative that we have the top of that channel on SPY coming up. And the Qs, I think, kind of the same thing. We're in that upper boundary there, and then we're already at our target. So maybe the Qs, maybe we rotate out of the Qs, although we do have room to the upside for this options expected move. Again, these options expected moves are very good ways of kind of looking at things and getting these tea leaves, because if we hit this upper end of the options expected move, is not likely that we're going to reverse to it doesn't mean we can't get a reversal candle and continue on to next week. But if you're trading short term, we hit this upper edge, you better believe the bottom ones down here, there's a really low probability that your options hit this lower end. Okay, so that's one way to look at it. If you would have been here or here and you were bullish and you wanted to hit those, let's say that was this week, it's clearly not, we're Monday, that's a great target to hit in the options expected move and take off some profit. So these can become very valuable for us this week. That became our hedges to the upside, because we were looking for something to fail here, and it clearly did not. So, all right, you guys, that's what I got for you today. Join us in the Discord. We had great traders in there. There's fantastic people that are trading all the time. Flying Disc has been really putting them out there and doing very well. And they all trade differently, you guys. So you have options traders, you have common shares being shorted, and all sorts of things. So thank you very much for watching here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.